You walked into a relationship thinking you could change them, fix what felt broken, or simply love harder. But somewhere along the way, you began to shrink. Your voice softened, your truth became a negotiation, and your worth was measured against someone else's approval. Today, I want to talk about how to turn that story around, not by sinking to the narcissist's level, not by revenge or drama, but by reclaiming your life so completely that regret becomes the byproduct of your strength. Boundaries are not just lines you draw in the sand. They are the invisible armor that protects your emotional, mental, and even physical well-being. When dealing with a narcissist, boundaries become more than a healthy practice. They become your shield of survival and your first tool for reclaiming power. Narcissists thrive on control, and control is only possible where boundaries are weak or inconsistent. The moment you begin to set clear, unshakable limits, you dismantle the very foundation they use to manipulate you. Think of boundaries as rules you create for how people can treat you, how close they can get, and what behaviors you will or won't accept. For most people, boundaries are respected naturally because mutual respect exists. But for narcissists, boundaries are obstacles to their power. That's why they often push, test, and try to dismantle them. They'll say you're too sensitive when you ask for space, or they'll guilt trip you when you refuse to give in to unreasonable demands. This is why learning to set and defend boundaries is such a powerful act. It's not only about protecting yourself, it's about refusing to participate in their game. The first step in creating strong boundaries is clarity. You must be very clear with yourself about what you value and what you will no longer tolerate. Do you need conversations to remain respectful? Then decide that yelling or calling will result in you leaving the room. Do you need personal time or privacy? Then communicate that interruptions or invasive questioning will not be entertained. Clarity creates strength, because once you know your non-negotiables, it becomes easier to enforce them. The second step is consistency. A narcissist will not stop testing you after the first no. In fact, that's when they start testing harder. They'll poke at the edges of your boundaries, searching for cracks. If you give in after 3 tries, they'll learn they just need to push you 4 times next time. This is why consistency is essential. Boundaries lose their power if they're negotiable under pressure. Every time you hold firm, you train the narcissist that their usual tactics will no longer work. The third step is calm enforcement. Narcissists thrive on emotional reactions. If you shout, cry, or argue endlessly while defending your boundaries, they win because they've still drawn energy from you. Calm enforcement looks like this: stating your limit once, and then acting on it without unnecessary explanation. For example, if you raise your voice at me, I'm ending this conversation. When the yelling starts, you hang up or walk out. No debate, no repeated warnings, just action. This calmness strips away their ability to bait you into emotional chaos. One of the biggest misconceptions about boundaries is that they're meant to change the other person. They're not. Boundaries are not about controlling someone else. They're about controlling yourself and your environment. You cannot force a narcissist to respect you, but you can enforce consequences every time they cross the line. Over time, this teaches them that access to you is conditional on basic respect, and that's where regret begins to grow. They start to realize they can no longer manipulate, dominate, or drain you the way they used to. Boundaries also send a message to yourself: I am worthy of respect. Every time you enforce a boundary, you reinforce your self-worth. This inner shift is powerful because narcissists prey on doubt and insecurity. When you start showing yourself that you are non-negotiable, you weaken their grip on you. You'll find your confidence growing, your peace returning, and your sense of control over your own life strengthening. In the end, boundaries are not barriers that lock you away from life. They're gates that let the right people in and keep the wrong people at a safe distance. With narcissists, boundaries are your shield, a shield that blocks manipulation, deflects control, and protects your sense of self. And when a narcissist realizes that their old tactics no longer work, when they see that your life continues to flourish outside their control, regret creeps in. They regret losing the easy access they once had. They regret underestimating your strength. But most importantly, you no longer care because your boundaries have already freed you. When you are in the grip of a narcissist, one of the most painful experiences is losing your sense of identity. You begin to question your worth, your memories, and sometimes even your sanity. This happens because narcissists are skilled at rewriting the story of your life to fit their narrative. They cast themselves as the hero or the victim, while slowly painting you as the problem, the villain, or the one who is never enough. Over time, you may start to believe their version of reality. Reclaiming your story and identity, therefore, is not just a step in healing, it is an act of liberation. It is how you take back control and strip them of their greatest weapon, the power to define who you are. Narcissists thrive on gaslighting, the manipulation tactic that makes you doubt your own reality. They'll insist that events didn't happen the way you remember, that you're being dramatic, or that your feelings are invalid. This distortion of reality serves their agenda, keeping you confused and easier to control. The first step in reclaiming your story is to anchor yourself in the truth. Write things down. Keep a journal of events, conversations, and your feelings. Documentation protects your reality from erosion. When the narcissist tries to rewrite the script, you'll have your own record to ground you. This small but powerful habit ensures you never lose sight of what actually happened. Reclaiming your story also means redefining how you see yourself. Under a narcissist's influence, your identity often gets reduced to roles that serve them: the caretaker, the supporter, the admirer, the scapegoat. To break free, you must rediscover who you are outside of their needs. Ask yourself, what do I value? What lights me up? What dreams did I put on hold to keep the peace? The answers to these questions begin to form a new narrative, one in which you are the main character of your life, not a side role in theirs. Part of reclaiming your identity is refusing to internalize their labels. Narcissists often use words as weapons. Selfish, crazy, ungrateful, weak. These are not reflections of who you are. They are projections of their own insecurities. The moment you stop absorbing those labels is the moment you regain power. Try replacing their negative words with affirmations of your own truth. I am strong. I am clear. I am worthy. Over time, these affirmations build a shield around your identity, making it harder for their words to stick. Another vital step is to speak your story out loud, to trusted friends, to a therapist, or even in safe communities where others have faced similar struggles. Sharing breaks the silence and exposes manipulation for what it is. When others validate your experiences, you reclaim your right to truth. Narcissists isolate because silence strengthens their narrative. Breaking that silence restores your voice. Equally important is reconnecting with parts of yourself you may have abandoned. Did you once love painting, traveling, writing, or fitness, but gave it up to avoid conflict or criticism? Revisit those passions. Reclaiming identity isn't just about rejecting the narcissist's version of you. It's about actively rebuilding the person you've always been. Each step toward your authentic self chips away at the false identity they tried to impose. As you reclaim your story, something powerful happens. The narcissist loses control. Their manipulations only work when you believe them. When you stop accepting their narrative and replace it with your own, you stop being a puppet in their play. They will likely feel regret, not because they've suddenly grown empathy, but because they realize they've lost their grip on you. Without control, they lose the power they once fed on. Most importantly, reclaiming your story ensures that regret is no longer the goal. Freedom is. You don't rebuild your identity to make them suffer. You do it so you can finally breathe again, live again, and be yourself again. That is the truest form of victory. When you live authentically, unapologetically, and on your own terms, their regret becomes inevitable. But by then, you won't even need it, because your story will already be yours, untouchable and whole. One of the most empowering steps you can take after breaking free from a narcissist's control is to redirect your time, energy, and focus back into yourself. Narcissists are masters at draining people. They demand attention, admiration, and energy, leaving you feeling exhausted, depleted, and sometimes even hollow. Their goal is simple: to keep you so occupied with them that you forget yourself. That's why investing in yourself, not in them, is such a revolutionary act. It takes the energy you once gave away and uses it to rebuild, strengthen, and empower you. Investing in yourself starts with understanding the damage that narcissists cause. They convince you that your needs don't matter, that your dreams are selfish, and that your value comes only from how well you serve them. Over time, you start to neglect yourself. You skip hobbies, sacrifice rest, ignore your health, and let your goals fade into the background. But here's the truth: your well-being, your passions, and your dreams are not luxuries. They are your foundation. When you start pouring into yourself again, you begin to repair what was stolen. The first way to invest in yourself is through self-care, not in the superficial sense, but in the foundational one. Sleep, nutrition, exercise, and mental health support are not optional, they're essential. Think of your body and mind as the vehicle for your future. When you take care of them, you build resilience. Every workout, every healthy meal, every therapy session, every good night's sleep is a declaration, I matter. Narcissists hate to see you thriving because it reminds them they no longer control your energy. The second way is through personal growth. What have you always wanted to learn or achieve that you put on hold? Maybe it's finishing a degree, learning a skill, starting a business, or exploring a creative passion. Investing in personal growth not only rebuilds your confidence, but it also proves to yourself that your identity is not limited to the role the narcissist tried to trap you in. Growth creates momentum, and momentum creates joy. Imagine the regret a narcissist feels when they realize the very person they tried to diminish is now thriving, advancing, and expanding beyond their reach. The third way is financial independence. Narcissists often use money as a weapon, controlling withholding or overspending in ways that trap you. Taking control of your finances, whether by saving, budgeting, or creating new income streams, is one of the strongest forms of self-investment. Financial freedom equals choice, and choice equals power. Every dollar you save or earn on your own is another brick in the wall of independence that protects you from ever being manipulated that way again. The fourth way is rebuilding relationships that nurture you. Narcissists often isolate you, pulling you away from supportive friends or family so they can dominate your reality. Investing in yourself means reconnecting with those who uplift, encourage, and remind you of your worth. Surround yourself with truth, tellers who affirm your growth. Healthy relationships act like mirrors that reflect your value, helping you see yourself clearly when the narcissist tried to cloud your vision. And finally, investing in yourself means building a life you actually enjoy. Fill your days with things that bring meaning and joy, whether that's travel, volunteering, art, fitness, reading, or simply quiet moments of peace. The goal is not just to survive, but to live fully. Every time you choose joy, you're sending a powerful message. My life belongs to me. Here's the beautiful part: when you invest in yourself, regret naturally follows the narcissist. They will see the life you've created, the glow you've regained, and the peace you've found, and they will realize they no longer have access to it. They will regret losing someone they could not control. But here's the shift: by the time they feel that regret, you won't care. Your investment in yourself will have built a life so fulfilling that their opinion no longer matters. In the end, investing in yourself is not about revenge. It's about recovery. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's a journey of remembering who you are, rebuilding what was broken, and reclaiming the joy you were always meant to live. The narcissist may regret losing you, but you will never regret choosing yourself. When dealing with a narcissist, one of the most frustrating realities is realizing that words often don't work. You can explain, argue, defend, and plead until your throat is sore, and still, the narcissist won't hear you. Not because they can't, but because they won't. They don't listen to understand, they listen to twist, to dismiss, or to use your words against you later. This is why silence, combined with consistent consequences, becomes far more powerful than endless explanations. It is the language narcissists cannot manipulate, and it's one of the surest ways to make them feel the weight of their own actions. Narcissists feed off reactions. They thrive on the drama of your anger, the tears of your hurt, and the long explanations you give in defense of yourself. Every word you throw at them becomes fuel for their control. Silence, however, starves them. When you stop reacting, you take away the energy they crave. Silence says, I refuse to play this game. It deprives them of the emotional stage they need and forces them to face the emptiness of their behavior without your participation. But silence alone isn't enough. It must be paired with clear and consistent consequences. A consequence is not a threat, nor is it an act of revenge. It is simply the natural outcome of someone's choices. For example, if a narcissist insults you during a conversation, the consequence could be ending that conversation and walking away. If they repeatedly disrespect your boundaries, the consequence could be limiting or cutting off contact. The key is consistency. Every time they cross the line, you follow through with the action. Over time, this teaches them that your boundaries are non-negotiable and that their behavior always carries a cost. One of the reasons consequences are so effective is that narcissists expect to get away with everything. They're used to bending people through guilt, manipulation, or intimidation. When you remain calm, silent, and firm in enforcing consequences, you interrupt their cycle, you stop being predictable, you stop being easy to control. This shift is disorienting for them, and eventually it forces them to regret underestimating your strength. Silence also gives you power in a very personal way. It creates space. When you stop engaging in exhausting arguments, you gain time and